We, of course, are in front of a bean field, which could have had wheat in it this last year. Cornfield next to us, it may have some wheat at some time, followed by beans, because there's a hint going around the countryside that there's going to be possible of a substantial increase in wheat grown in central Illinois. With me is Gary Ellis. For full disclosure, his dad and my dad both grew up on a farm that was raising wheat, and when they farmed, they raised wheat, and all of a sudden, things that went around kind of come around, I have a feeling. And Gary, who is a noted commodity analyst for many years, you've been doing a little bit of research on the possibility of the economics of growing more wheat in central Illinois. This is corn and bean country. How can we afford to raise wheat in corn and bean country?
It may be because we don't want to pay $1,500 to $1,800 for anhydrous ammonia, not to mention the cost of seed and herbicides that have gone up tremendous amounts.
And so if farmers are looking at ways in cutting back on their anhydrous for corn, they've got to put nitrogen on wheat. They don't put near as much on it. But what sort of economics have you found that would pay a farmer would find that it would pay to raise double crop wheat and beans in central Illinois?
Well, the economics is one side. You can do it, the usual way, and take a moderate yield on wheat at 80, a cash bid at 30 under 912 today for wheat. That'll put in a gross here of 705. And if you want to do a moderate yield on double crop beans at 30, a 30 under bid of the futures today would net you about, by my estimate, 705 for the wheat, and 30 for the beans is 403, 1108 gross before any cost.
So that gets you in corn territory then.
Yes, it does. If you're looking at, say, 250 bushel today at approximately $6, a little more than that.
So this is going to throw some ideas in some folks, but they're thinking, well, we look at your numbers, but let's look at the practicality of it. Is there going to be a market for wheat? And when you look at Ukraine only planting a third of their expected production this fall for next year, and when you look at Mr. Putin sending all of the young folks either out of the country or into the war, you kind of wonder if Russia is going to be its wheat machine that it normally is. And so there could be some market opportunities continuing on in the next year.
Very true. There's pretty much a 9-year cycle in wheat prices as there is corn prices. And we put in about a 4-year double bottom in wheat down here at let's say 475. And the market has been up since those were made in 16 and 20. And we went up and did a big double top on the charts, the Chicago Soft Red, up there at $12 plus. We had a high in 8, and we put in a high this summer is about 20 cents higher. So it looks like if you're an Elliott Wave person, the move is over. And perhaps it is. We won't know today. We won't know tomorrow. We won't know next week, or maybe even by harvest of next summer. But right now, the market wants farmers to sow wheat. And even though it may be the Russian wives that have to sow the wheat, they want us to sow wheat too, and the people in all the other countries that produce wheat, and that's what the market will do. It will attract a larger wheat acreage. Then we'll have to deal with that next year. Right now, with a 9 plus, we're at the second highest level during this quarter for July futures. The all-time high in July futures for this quarter is around 950. Then the next level of resistance is 10. Then, of course, 1050 on the chart is really tough. What level it takes to get that wheat sowed, you and I don't know today, but the market was going to tell us pretty quick over the next 2 or 3 months, because wheat, if it has a rally for acres, it usually ends up that rally in December. But we got complications of drought that hasn't been solved in the U.S. We got dryness in South America. We got the problems of, will the farmers be there to sow wheat in the Ukraine or Russia? So there's some challenges in getting this next crop out.
And speaking of sowing, there may be some farmers who said, well, we haven't had a wheat drill on our farm in several decades. I'm assuming that some of the machinery dealers probably have some on the lot someplace. May not be the newest one, but there might be an inventory out there.
Well, a local John Deere dealer has one on the lot today that he's putting together. They don't come to the lot pretty much unless they're ordered. And the estimate by some local machinery dealers is that 1 out of every 25 farmers in this part of the Corn Belt have a drill they can put wheat out with. Now, there's people who have gone to broadcast. They'll borrow a fertilizer spreader. They got their own broadcaster, the air seeders. They'll go to those methods. But there is not many wheat drills, but you can rent a drill. You can have a neighbor put it in. But he's pretty busy here getting out beans and getting out corn, so I don't know how much time you'll have to pull the drill out. You may have to go rent it and do it yourself.
We've got a late season here. The corn's not drying down as fast because we had some cool temperatures. We had a lot of August rains. The corn still got some nitrogen in it. It's still alive. It's just not drying down very fast. The soybeans are going to be coming on. And so there's going to be a little bit of crimp on time this fall. And so that's one decision point that a farmer's got to think about.
Right. It's very, very timely when you're putting wheat out. If you're a row crop farmer with corn and beans, they're going to have to do some sharpening of the pencil. Now, there are indications the acreage is going to be higher, especially where they can get beans out and get it in a timely fashion. We wouldn't want to turn off wet in 2 weeks. Our fly-free date starts in this county here on the 2nd, and it gets a little 3 days later about every 80 miles south in Illinois. So there's time if we can get the weather. Now, 28 prices in a lot of regions have gone up about $115 a ton since summer, and the other fertilizer inputs are also higher. I've talked to a couple people with contacts in the seed industry. Locally here, there's some dealers that have orders for seed. These are leading seed companies. Seed orders are, say, biggest in 10 years. Now, that's not true of everybody, but that's an indication here locally.
Gary Schnitke, who's a very noted ag economist at the University of Illinois, told me yesterday, he said he could foresee a 10 to 20% increase in wheat planting this fall because of the economics and the opportunities.
I think that would probably be a range that we can hit. There may be some surprises in some areas that may be greater than that. It'd be very hard for me to say. In some of the what we call wise forecasters in the ag business, they don't have any increases that large.
Okay. Something interesting I ran into yesterday is the agronomic issues. Of course, around here, wheat's going to come out a little bit later. Beans are going to be crimped and getting into the ground. But the new University of Illinois wheat breeder, Jessica Rakoski, has been working on early maturing wheat appropriate for central Illinois. Now, I'm not sure whether there's going to be enough seed for next year or not. That's an unknown. But another interesting agronomic factor is that the crop physiology department has been working on biologicals that will cause wheat stubble to deteriorate more rapidly so that early planting of soybeans could go into double crop wheat without too much of a delay, and that wheat stubble form a pretty good nitrogen bed for that, really deteriorate from the wheat nitrogen and even allow it for beans. So that's something that may not be ready for 23, but would certainly be in the offing if farmers were looking at a more long-term wheat rotation on their farm.
Yeah, I think the university's made some great strides in maybe assisting the soft red winter wheat grower to put out, say, wheat earlier, get it in his operation earlier, and maybe help him on the labor end as well as getting double crop beans out earlier. I think that's really a plus.
So if you look at the economics, why there's some thoughts for you. You can put some pencils to the paper, see what the challenges are for getting equipment, getting labor, getting it planted, getting it harvested, and some of the new issues that may make it all about that much easier down the road. Gary, we appreciate it.
One thing,
Go right ahead.
if some people in my area have been doing this for, say, 10 years, and the real key to making the greatest gross or the greatest profit is have your wheat straw sold ahead of time, and the people that buy it come and bale it and haul it away while you're running the disc right up against their heels. So having your straw sale is a real key in profits here in growing this double crop.
We appreciate Cousin Gary Ellis helping out with this. I'm Stu Ellis. Thanks for watching.